Welcome back to episode number 2 of French Cooking in Your Own Home. Let's dive in.
You don't have to cook fancy or complicated masterpieces, just good food from fresh ingredients. Julia Child. So pull your hair back, grab your favorite apron, remember to tie those strings in the front, tuck in a towel, and let's get started. So let's go ahead and get our stations set up and ready for today. Favorite bud, here again.
All right, friends, today we are making a French roasted chicken, which is not a French chicken, but just a chicken roasted the French way. We are going to be starting with a whole chicken. Don't freak out and leave this video. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to walk you through how to prep it, how to roast it, and then how to break it down and slice it when we're all done. One of my favorite things about French cooking is that it's good ingredients, simple ingredients, but high quality, put together in a really thoughtful, intentional way. So there's nothing about this today that's going to be like, wow, that was earth-shattering. The ingredients you used, the techniques you used, it's all pretty straightforward, but I think that's what makes it so good. And it's the precision and the knowledge and the understanding of those cooking techniques that are going to serve you really well as building blocks, not just for French cuisine, but for any cuisine that you want to dabble in. So we're going to start with cast iron skillet. This is what all of our veggies are going to go in the base of, and then our chicken is going to sit on top. So our veggies are going to make a nice bed for our chicken to nestle in. I've got red potatoes, I've got carrots, I've got celery, I've got an onion. If you watched last week's video, you know that we basically got mirepoix and potatoes. Anytime I'm cutting a round object like a potato, I'm going to start by cutting off a sliver so that I can make a flat surface and this won't be rolling around while I'm cutting it. And then from there, I've got a lot more stability. I'm going for a large dice, which is 3/4 to an inch in size. We can make this organic or rustic. It's totally fine. I'm using red potatoes today, about 4 to 5 red potatoes, but you could sub out any potato of your choice. They could be russets, they could be Yukon Golds, they could be fingerling, chef's choice. Now that I've got my potatoes, I'm going to add some of my other veggies. I've got carrots, which I'm just going to do in coins. Again, we're going for a little bit more of a rustic feel here. Got my scrap bowl. We're going to save all of these veggie scraps and make a stock out of them later in the next video. And I'm going to toss in a little bit of celery. I'm getting to the point where I'm risking my skillet being a little too full. So I probably am going to go either for half the onion here, or I might put some of the veggies inside the chicken if I need to free up a little bit of room once I get everything out. If you missed last week's video and you want the onion tutorial again, remember the onions give you this nice cheat sheet with all these lines. If you just follow it down, gives you a great guide for how to dice your onion. There we go. All right. Now it's time for the chicken. Actually, I'm pretty certain that this is going to be too much to all fit in this. So I'm going to go ahead and preemptively take a little bit out so then I don't have to do that once I've got chicken fingers. That should be okay. I'm gonna go ahead and unwrap the chicken in the sink just to contain some of the mess. But you do not need to rinse a chicken off. That's not something that needs to happen. There's not really a point to it. The bacteria, like salmonella, is in the blood. So that's why you have to cook chicken to a certain temperatures, because any bacteria could linger. Chickens, you want to cook them to at least 165 degrees. That's to kill any bacteria. Again, that salmonella being in the blood. So washing a chicken, you're not doing anything to prevent any kind of future pathogens or illness. It all has to do with the cooking process. And spraying down a chicken or rinsing it just tends to splatter any potential germs or bacteria more places. Okay, so we got our bird. Now I am gonna wash the hell out of my hands though. Okay, so we've got our chicken, we've got our veggies. I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple bowls here for salt and for some herbs. If I'm working with raw meat, especially raw chickens, I'll oftentimes portion out the seasonings I need separately so that I'm not contaminating my larger bowls. And then we are going to go with a little bit of olive oil over the skin. We don't need any on our veggies because the whole point of roasting the chicken on top of the veggies is that the drippings from the chicken are going to soak into our veggies and make those crispy. So we're just going to rub that into the skin a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead, stuff some of my extra veggies into the cavity here. Which is kind of a morbid sounding word, but it is exactly what we're doing. So we're going to go with it. And then the little extras that I've got, I can just tuck in around. It's going to be okay. We're going to squeeze it in. We're going to make it fit. Then I'm going to go ahead and go with salt. You do not need to be afraid of salt. The same way you do not need to be afraid of a whole chicken. I would totally do cracked ground pepper, but I accidentally left my pepper mill. I went away for the weekend and I took it with me, which sounds like a very bougie chef thing to do, but we were cooking a Thanksgiving meal, so I wanted it. And then herb de Provence or Italian seasonings is great here. Add that on. Et voila! Our chicken is ready for the oven. All right, now it's time for our beautiful chicken to go in our tiny baby oven here. Thankfully, it is just gonna fit. Look at that squeeze. We've got our oven on 425. You could even do 450 depending on how hot your oven runs. But we're gonna let it be like this for a good 15-20 minutes at least until we see the top start to get nice and brown. And then from there, we'll turn the oven down a little bit and let it finish roasting. That way we don't burn it. And we make sure it's done on the inside, but it gets that nice brown crispy layer on the outside first. I'm gonna do a little bit of cleanup while the chickens are in the chicken is in the oven. I'm gonna save my scraps for later because chicken stock. I get my dirty dishes to the sink. It's time to check this chicken. It's been 20 minutes. I think it needs a little bit longer before we turn it down. But we're gonna rotate it because it's starting to really get some nice color on this side. We want to even it out a little bit more on this side. It's not surprising that this oven has some hot spots in it. There we go. Just listen to that sound though. Feel a little bit of roasting chicken ASMR here. I wish you could smell it. Our next 10 minutes is up. So I'm going to go ahead and check this one more time before I turn the temperature down. Oh yeah. Got some nice color on there. I'm also gonna move my rack down just a little bit because I think that's gonna help with the evenness of the cooking for this last part, so that it's not quite so high up in the kitchen, in the oven, and near the element. And I'm gonna turn this down to 375. 350, 375. My oven seems like it's cooking a little bit lower, like it doesn't get quite as hot is what it's saying. So I am turning it to 375 instead of 350. If your oven is pretty calibrated, 350 is great. And now we wait. All right, it is time. Pull this baby out. What a beautiful French roasted chicken. Julia Child would be so proud. It's important that we let this rest for a little bit. We're gonna let it rest probably 10 to 15 minutes. I know this is the part about French cooking that just like, it takes time, guys. It takes time to make something really good. So there's not a speedy way to do a lot of French recipes. They take time, but the French don't mind taking time cooking food because they also take a lot of time to eat their food. So I would encourage you to embody that sense of French cooking and cuisine where you really, like, I've been working on this for hours now this afternoon, which means it's not meant to just be scarfed down in 10 minutes. Like, this is I'm gonna gather friends around the table, we're gonna have a meal together. Obviously, also it's a whole chicken, I'm not gonna eat it by myself. To be clear, I do not have a thermometer at home. If you have a thermometer and you're gonna check and make sure that this is to temp, you wanna insert the thermometer in the thickest part of the thigh because that's where it's going to get done. Like, that's gonna be the last part of this chicken to cook. The breast is gonna cook first. The legs, especially the thigh, like in towards the bone, is gonna be last. If you're wondering how I can tell that this chicken is done since I don't have a thermometer, I can tell by a few different ways. Number one, I can actually tell by the way that it smells. The chemistry in food, almost all foods, changes quite a bit when it goes into that like final stage of being cooked and being ready, and I can tell the difference by the way that it smells. Secondly, because I know that sounds super elitist, but that's not just a chef thing, that just has been something that I've always had. I can also tell by the touch, like there's very little bounce back that's happening when you touch here, and I can tell. I can also see, and I'm going to show you here because I'm going to cut it open a little bit. I can see that the juices are running clear, which is another key indication, especially for a chicken, that it's done. So I'm going to, that's real hot. Chef hands here. There we go. Okay, pull the chicken over here so I can cut it up. I've got all my really yummy veggies in here. There's actually a lot of juices down at the bottom, so I'll probably drain some of those out. Move this off to the side. For carving our chicken, we're eventually going to want to take the veggies that we stuffed in there out. But before I do that, I'm going to cut the legs off. That's where we're going to start. You'll be able to see down towards the base where the thigh meets up with the back, and cut that. And then if you're wanting to cut the leg from the thigh, it's easier to see when the chicken is raw, but all chickens do kind of have this grain that goes between the leg and the drumstick. And you can find that, and that's a pretty perfect in between the joint. So it makes it easier. You don't have to fish around a lot. So I'm gonna place that there. I'm gonna do the other side. Same kind of deal. Just be patient and use your eyes and your intuition. Okay, same thing on this side. Between the joints, the leg joints. For the breast, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. You can split the chicken this way. I usually just go down like this along the breastbone and then keep it intact with the wing. Like that. You can leave this whole at this point, or you can cut it in half. Y'all thought that this wouldn't be done because I didn't have a thermometer. And then the other side. What just hot on my fingers, guys? These veggies are so aromatic. They smell so good right now. Hot. Hot, hot. Okay. There we go. All right. And then same thing if you want. Cut it in half. There we have it. As we're wrapping up for today, I'm gonna get out a big stock pot. I'm gonna go ahead and put my bones and my veggies in here. We're gonna turn it into a chicken stock, which we are going to need in next week's video because we're gonna be doing the mother sauces, and chicken stock is the base of one of our mother sauces. As always, thanks for being here. Bon appetit. I hope you have a wonderful meal experience. I will see you next week. Now it's time to go do some dishes.